What is up, everyone? Boshi here, back at it, and we're kind of in Raid Shadow Legends, but this is an update page for Raid. Yeah, so the Underpriest Brogni fusion does start tomorrow, but it's going to be a little bit different than what we thought. So typically, the traditional fusion was based on, collecting a bunch of rares, fusing those into an epic, and then taking the 4 epics and fusing it into Underpriest Brogni. This is not the case for this one. Pretty much, they're skipping out the whole rare section. So you're going to be earning the epics, but you're going to be earning the epics through fragments. Yeah, it's a little bit weird. So they're pretty much combining a fragment summon and a traditional fusion. You'll be earning the 4 epics through fragments. We don't know exactly what the schedule is for that or how easy it's going to be to do this. So definitely keep an eye out for the schedule when Underpriest Brogni's fusion goes live tomorrow to make sure that you're planning everything out correctly. So it's going to be a little bit odd, but hopefully it is going to be easier for the players in order to get these fusion pieces. And we also don't know if we're still going to be getting additional actual like champions throughout the other events. Previously we were able to earn like another copy of most of the epics, but we don't know if we're just going to be doing that through fragments now, because fragments is the way to get the epics, or if they're just going to give the full-fledged epic as a reward for certain things. So yeah, just make sure you guys are keeping an eye out on the schedule, plan out everything accordingly. We'll see how this one goes. It's going to be an interesting one. But yeah, so I wanted to go on this page and pretty much go through everything real quick. Some content creators already had some videos out about some of the champions and whatnot, but I did want to go over them for anyone that hasn't seen it, give my quick opinion on them. Majority of them look awesome, to be honest. One of them did get nerfed, which some people are not happy about, but I kind of agree with the nerf. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump right into it. So first we have Underpriest Brogni. I did a video on him. I'll go ahead and put a little card in the top of the video for you guys if you guys want to go see my reaction to him and everything. He's going to be an amazing champion, guys. I definitely think you guys should be going for this fusion if possible. But we did find out his books, which his books aren't too bad. It still is 12 legendary books, but you are going to get his HP burn up to a 60% chance, which is very nice. We're getting that shield increase and the damaging ability down to a 3-turn cooldown, which is pretty cool. And you're going to have a 100% chance to remove a random buff from the enemy and 100% chance to cleanse a random debuff from your team, which is really cool. And then the last thing, it was his shield. So we were guessing that it was going to go down to a 3-turn cooldown, and lo and behold, it is. So honestly, I think he is going to be amazing. He does have like a base resistance of 90 that we found out, and that just goes on top of his resistance for Doom Tower by 60 with his aura. So by default, he is going to have 150 resist, so pretty cool. But yeah, make sure you check out that video if you want my or more of an opinion on him. But yeah, let's go on to the new champions. So first we have Riho Bonespear. Gonna be a void legendary that they're adding into the game during this whole update. And it's going to be part of the Shadowkin faction, which is awesome. Shadowkin getting some love right away, which we kind of knew was going to happen, but let's go through the abilities. So on the A1, we have Absorption. Attacks one enemy, places a 15% continuous heal buff on the ally with the lowest HP for 1 turn, and then also places a 7.5 continuous heal buff on all allies with 30% HP or less for 1 turn. Books are just for damage. I do like this ability. I definitely like the 15% continuous heal on the lowest HP champ. I do wish the lower continuous heals weren't, needed on a 30% HP or less like ally. I think if they buffed it up to like 50%, 30% is just such low health that I don't know how much a 7.5 continuous heal is going to help. But yeah, that's my only issue with it, but it is an A1, so can't really complain about too much. Next, we have A2. Pressure points places a stun debuff on the target enemy for 1 turn, as well as an HP burn debuff, a decreased defense debuff, a weaken, a 50% decrease attack debuff, and a 30% decrease crit rate debuff for 2 turns, then attacks the champion. Books, you can drop it down to a 3-turn cooldown and just more damage. Ridiculous ability, right? So if you're in a PvP situation or a wave situation, you're placing a stun plus all of those debuffs. In a boss situation, you're placing a bunch of debuffs. And they're all key debuffs, right? You have the big drop attack, the big drop defense, the weaken, and HP burn. The only one that's not huge on that is going to be the decreased crit rate, but you can't really complain about that. It's just less damage to you. So yeah, ridiculous ability. Definitely going to be a legendary just based off of that ability. Next, we have the A3, Perfect Body. Remove all debuffs from all allies, and then places a block debuffs on them for 2 turns. Also heals all allies by 35% of their max HP and by a further 5% for each debuff removed from them on a 3-turn cooldown if you can book it all the way, and you get an increased heal. Another ridiculous ability, to be honest, a big cleanse, a block debuffs, and a heal on a 3-turn cooldown. Yeah, not much to really say about that. So extremely good. And then you have the passive. When receiving any debuff, instantly transfer them from this champion to the attacker. It does have a 3-turn cooldown, but protects itself from debuffs, especially major ones such as like block cooldown skills, which is really awesome. But yeah, it will not transfer anything that cannot be removed though. So there is that little portion on some of the abilities of champions in like a PvP situation or maybe a Doom Tower Wave situation. But yeah, you're not really going to run into that too often. So I'd imagine the passive is still going to work pretty dang well. Then you have the aura, increase ally attack and faction crypts by 42%. Nothing too big there, but with faction crypts not being out for Shadowkin yet, this actually might be a pretty good aura for you in the future. Next, we have Fenshi, one of the epics that's going to be part of the fusion. So on the A1, we have attack one enemy 3 times. Each hit has a 30% chance of placing a decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. You can buff that up to 40% with books. Automatically going to be good for Fire Knight with a triple hit A1, especially with the affinity as it is right now. But in the future, when Fire Knight goes up, we'll have to see what affinity exactly lands on. So it might not be good for future 25 dungeon Fire Knight, but definitely a good pick right now. On the A2, we have attack one enemy 3 times again, so definitely a Fire Knight champion. Each hit has a 50% chance or 75% chance if you book it of decreasing the target's turn meter by 15%. And you can buff this up to a 75% chance, and you can drop this down to a 2-turn cooldown. Has Fire Knight written all over it, guys. You're getting triple hits, you're getting a decreased turn meter chance. Yeah, nothing says more than Fire Knight. And then you have the A3, Killer's Bile. Attack one enemy 2 times. Each hit places a 5% poison debuff on the target for 3 turns. So definite. And then you have will ignore 10% of the target's defense for each poison debuff on the target. You can drop this down to a 3-turn cooldown and then just damage increase from the books. Will take a total of, it looks like, 15 books, which is a lot, but it is an epic champion, so it's not as bad. But I could definitely see it being put into Fire Knight speedruns and stuff like that. You have 2 triple hit attacks, 1 double hit attack, and 1 that does turn meter. You have a decreased speed. You have more damage depending if you are running poisons. So yeah, definitely going to be a good champion for you guys to grab. Could definitely do well on clan boss as well because of the whole poison thing. But yeah, overall I think is going to be a pretty good champion to get and a new Shadowkin champion, so always cool. Now we have Giscard the Sigiled. So this one was actually recently nerfed, and I'll put my points on that in just a second. So on the A1, we have Foe Breaker, attack one enemy, has a 75% chance if booked of placing a 50% decrease attack debuff for 1 turn. Unfortunately, it is only a 1 turn debuff, but can be useful if you can extend it somehow, or if you can get him through his turns enough that he's using his A1. On the A2, we have Lion's Roar. Attack all enemies. Has a 75% chance if you book it of placing a provoke debuff for 1 turn. Also places a shield buff on this champion equal to 25% of their max HP for 2 turns. And it was on a 4-turn cooldown. You can drop it down to 3 turns. So previously, before the nerf, it was actually you were able to bring this down to a 2-turn cooldown, which when read made it sound like it was going to be ridiculous, just because you're placing a provoke for 1 turn. This is on a 2-turn cooldown, and combined with his other 2 abilities we're about to go over, you're pretty much going to be locking down the enemy team completely. They decided to change this because some people that tested him said that he was a little bit too strong, and I do agree. A lot of people weren't happy with the fact that he already got nerfed before he came out. A lot of people were like, well, let people play with him first. But I do agree with this nerf. I think he would have been a little bit too strong for an epic. Now, if he was legendary status, I would have been like, yeah, leave him alone. Epic status kind of makes sense, but yeah, on the A3, we have Field of Strength. Place a 60% increased defense buff and a 50% increased attack buff on all allies for 2 turns on a 3-turn cooldown. Pretty cool ability. You get both the big buffs that you really want on your team, and it's on a 3-turn cooldown. Definitely a pretty cool thing to have. Then you have Egotist, which was the passive, which this also got nerfed. So fills this this champion's turn meter by 15%. It used to be 35% when they are attacked by an enemy under provoke debuff or increase attack buff. And then it says debuffs. So this is one little clause that we are trying to actually figure out, because we understand the provoke debuff, right? Because you are placing a provoke with the A2, it makes sense that your turn meter would increase when being hit by a provoked champion. But the whole increase attack buff, and then it says debuffs after, it would make sense if it meant decrease attack debuff. So if you're attacked by someone with a decrease attack debuff, that your turn meter would also be filled. This would make more sense just because you have a decreased attack on the A1. A lot of other people are just saying no, it just means increase attack buff, but nowhere, like, that's pretty, like, it's a big thing to depend on your enemy wave having an increased attack to hit Giscard. So we're trying to figure that one out for sure to make sure it actually means an increased attack buff, but we'll see how that goes. And then on the aura, we have an increased ally defense in Faction Wars Crypts by 27%. I think he will be an absolute monster if you're having issues in Bannerlords. Very CC heavy type champion, brings a decreased attack, brings an increased defense and increased attack, and CC. So yeah, definitely going to be a champion worth getting regardless of his nerf. Next, we have Skimfos the Consumed, which is going to be the Void Epic for the faction or for the fusion. So a little bit of a weird kit. On the A1, we have Growing Hunger. Attack one enemy 2 times. The first hit has a 35% chance or 45% chance if you book it of placing a decreased speed debuff for 2 turns. The second hit has a 45, if booked, chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. I do like the decreased speed. I wish the chance was a little bit higher. The whole turn meter by 10%, it's not big enough to make too big of a difference, but any type of turn meter control on an A1 isn't necessarily bad. Plus, it's in addition to the decreased speed possibility. So, in my opinion, not a bad A1. I just wish it was a little bit higher. On the A2, we have Clutch of Woe. Attack all enemies has a 100% chance if you book it of placing a decreased attack debuff for 2 turns, and then after attacking, it transfers all debuffs except any CC type of debuff from all your allied champions to this champion, and that's going to be on a 3-turn cooldown. So pretty cool. You can pretty much absorb all the decreased defense or decreased attack type stuff, pull it to him so all your people are safe from that type of thing. And then we have the A3, which kind of combines with his A2. Curse Bearer transfers all debuffs from this champion to a target enemy, then attacks the target, and then steals 100% of the target's turn meter if this attack is critical. He is going to be an attack-based champion, so you're definitely going to build him for damage. And this is on a 3-turn cooldown, which kind of corresponds with the Clutch of Woe ability. So pretty cool. Absorb all the debuffs and then place it on a target enemy and then steal that person's turn meter. Pretty cool. Not like something that everyone's just going to randomly go out and be like, yes, this is overpowered. But I'm thinking you can do some pretty unique things with this. So I'm kind of looking forward to playing around with them. Um, then we have his passive, Twisted, heals this champion by 5% of their max HP for each debuff on them at the start of the turn. If this champion is under 4 or more debuffs at the start of the turn, place a 50% increase attack buff and a 30% increase crit damage buff on this champion for 2 turns. So pretty cool. You absorb all the debuffs. Start of your turn, you heal if you've taken any damage. Also counteracts any poison debuffs that are on you, so you'll always live through the poison damage. And then you can transfer with the A2. So pretty cool. He is, I think his base stats were pretty low on the health wise though. So you have to be kind of, careful with what you're transferring onto him and stuff like that. But pretty cool champion, unique kit, in my opinion. And then the aura, increase ally attack in Doom Tower by 30%. Yeah, we'll just have to see how he does. I think, like I said, you'll be able to do some pretty cool stuff with him, but it's not going to be a champion that everyone runs to right away. And then lastly, we have Mordecai. So Mordecai is going to be, in my opinion, the answer to Nether Spider or just Spider in general. So we have on the A1, Purgatory, attack one enemy has a 30% or 45% chance of decreasing the target's turn meter by 10%. That's if you book it, and then has a 75% chance instead if you book it if the target is under an HP burn debuff. Yeah, so pretty cool. Nothing too special. Once again, target turn meter by 10% just isn't enough for me to really warrant it being good. But like I stated on the previous champion, any type of turn meter on an A1, I guess, is pretty cool. On the A2, we have Time's Undoing, has a 75 or 100% chance if you book it of decreasing the target's turn meter of all, or decreasing the turn meter of all enemies by 15%, and then fills the turn meter of all allies by 15% on a 3-turn cooldown. Exactly what Diabolus does, which is the rare that you can farm from campaign. So sadly, not too impressed with this ability just because it's pretty much exactly the same. The only thing is this can be booked down to a 3-turn cooldown, and I believe Diabolus is on a 4-turn cooldown. I mean, ultimately, it's not a bad ability, right? You're decreasing turn meter, you're increasing your own, so nothing too bad about that, in my opinion. But it's just, very comparable to a rare, which is just very bad in my opinion. So overall though, very good ability. Just wish it was more turn meter percentage. Next we have Heavenly Flames, which is like the answer to all that is Spider. So we has a 100% chance if you book this of placing an HP burn debuff on all enemies for 2 turns, and then places a 50% increase attack buff on all allies for 3 turns, and you can book this down to a 3-turn cooldown. So yeah, you can pretty much consistently keep up the increased attack buff, and then you're going to be 1 turn off the HP burn unless you extend that debuff. Overall, I think this is going to be great for Spider in general, just because of the HP burn and being placed on all enemies. But I feel like this is going to be the answer to a lot of people's Nether Spider issue. And the reason being is that typically your champions won't auto AoE abilities, but this one is not attacking the spiderlings. This is just placing an HP burn, which is pretty key to Nether Spider. You're not triggering the counterattacks from the spiderlings, but you're placing that HP burn debuff, which is pretty huge, putting it on all 5 of the spiders. It'll allow you to defeat the Nether Spider pretty quickly. And with this rotation, we have Nether Spider on the magic affinity, and Mordecai is force. So that means you're going to be positive affinity as well. So yeah, overall, I think the answer to Nether Spider and Spider in general. So pretty cool to see. And then you have the aura, increase ally accuracy in all battles by 40. Not a bad aura, not a great aura. But yeah, so overall, those are the champions. I think every single one is definitely worth getting. Underpriest is going to be the answer, I think, to a lot of people's issue with Grithian. just because his shield cannot be removed. So you're definitely going to have something that remains there to absorb some of the damage that he does. Riho Bonespear going to be a crazy legendary boy to get if it's possible. Fenshi, very good for Fire Knight overall. Good damage dealer in my opinion, can do probably pretty well on clan boss. You have Giscard, very CC heavy type champion. Did get nerfed. I don't know if the nerf was warranted. I do agree with the nerf just by reading what his abilities were prior, but we'll have to see how he performs now. Skimfos, very unique kit, can probably do some pretty cool things with him, but not someone that is going to be like very sought after, I guess, more or less, because there's just not one area that you just put him in. And then Mordecai, the spider killer, in my opinion. So if you are looking to go after a specific epic during this fusion and you're not planning on going after Underpriest, I would definitely say Mordecai can help you a lot on spider. Because of so the big thing with spider right now, he is spirit, so he is negative affinity, but he's placing, so it's not going to require you to get a hit, so you don't have to worry about weak hits. And then obviously nether spider, once again, you're placing, you're not triggering the counterattack. So Mordecai, definitely really good for progression if you're needing it in Doom Tower or in Spider Dungeon. So yeah, and then you have Giscard. I think he's going to be great for progression to get through waves, and Fenshi, damage dealing for Fire Knight, very good. Yeah, I would honestly try to aim for all of them. Priority wise, I would say Mordecai and Giscard are going to be at the top of the list, and then I'd go for Fenshi, and lastly Skimfos if you have that ability. But yeah, overall, all really, really good champions in my opinion. I think they did a really good job with the fusion champions this time around. Now we're just going to have to see how getting these champions are going to be with the whole fragment traditional fusion type thing going on. So yep, hope you guys liked this video. Hopefully you guys are enjoying all the champions that they're putting out and whatnot. Let me know if you guys are going to be going for this fusion, or what epic you are going for, or what you're looking forward to, and I will see you guys in the next one. See ya.